From the outside, Mary and Andrew were the perfect couple. She was the cool, enigmatic visionary whose company, Mariju Technologies, had revolutionized sustainable infrastructure. He was the charming investor whose charisma turned even skeptics into allies. Together, they were photographed on yachts, at galas, under chandeliers, dripping in crystal. But beneath the gloss was an unease Mary could never quite name. It started with whispers, misplaced files, subtle shifts in Andrew's tone when discussing her business, a missing email chain, a deal that slipped through her fingers into a competitor's hands, one that Andrew just happened to know socially. She confronted him once. He'd smiled softly, beautifully, cruelly. Darling, paranoia doesn't suit you. She didn't believe him. And when her CFO, her most trusted advisor, died in a car crash just weeks after threatening to reveal something Andrew wouldn't want seen, Mary knew she was standing next to a serpent. That's when the idea of dying came to her. She began to plan meticulously something no one suspected she had the stomach for. Her background in corporate espionage gave her contacts. People who could falsify records, erase traces, manipulate flight logs. A single bribe could turn a coroner's signature into her certificate of death. The explosion was staged, of course. Floor lines tampered. An incendiary charge timed with the GPS signal. She slipped into the sea moments before, diving beneath the burning surface with oxygen tanks disguised as scuba gear. A fishing boat crewed by men she'd paid in gold plucked her from the water. By sunrise, she was gone. By noon, the world mourned her. By midnight, Andrew toasted to her memory in their penthouse, wearing black and smiling into his whiskey. In the weeks after her death, Andrew's grief was broadcast for cameras. He sold his shares in Varion for a staggering profit, claiming he couldn't bear to hold reminders of her legacy. But the money trail told a different story. Through shell corporations, offshore accounts, and encrypted transfers, Mary tracked it all because Varion's encryption systems were hers. Andrew was selling her company's trade secrets, and the buyer was none other than her biggest rival, Astrogen Industries, the very company that had tried to acquire her a year before. And then came the moment that turned vengeance into personal ruin. Andrew appeared in public again, not alone this time. He was photographed at a private gala with Isabella, Mary's former best friend, now wearing the same diamond necklace Mary had once designed for herself. They were laughing. They were in love. And Isabella wore Mary's wedding ring. 6 months passed. Mary's name was immortalized on foundations, buildings, and glossy magazine covers. She had become an icon of tragedy, but from her island hideaway, she built her resurrection carefully. She enlisted her former head of security, Mike, a man whose loyalty had always been to her, not the fortune. Together, they fabricated new documents, an identity, a face, through surgery and subtle alteration. Mary Moore became Mary Gift, an investor from London. She began buying small stakes in Astrogen through dummy firms, worming her way back toward her empire. Then came the perfect opportunity. Astrogen invited potential investors to a gala at the Blackwell estate, her own former home. Andrew was hosting. That night, beneath crystal lights and champagne laughter, Mary Gift stepped through the doors in a silver gown. Andrew looked up from across the room, and something flickered in his eyes. Confusion first, then intrigue. She smiled politely when he introduced himself, pretending not to know the man who'd once kissed her under those same chandeliers. Over the next hour, she played her role, calm, mysterious, observant. She watched him move through the crowd like a shark in velvet. And then, when he stepped away to his study, she followed. "Strange," Andrew said when she entered. "You look familiar." Mary smiled. "Do I?" "Something about your eyes," he murmured, stepping closer. "They remind me of someone I once loved." "Someone who's dead?" she asked softly. He froze. And then, as she removed the contact lenses, as the false auburn hair fell to the floor, his breath left him. "Mary," he whispered. "You're alive?" she finished for him. "Yes, which is more than I can say for your conscience." He tried to recover, tried to charm, to manipulate his usual weapons. "You don't understand, Mary. They would have taken everything from us. I was protecting you. By selling me," her voice was calm, chilling. "By sleeping with her." Andrew's mask cracked, just slightly. "You were going to ruin me first," he hissed. "You always wanted control. And now, I have it." She pressed a button on her phone. Hidden cameras placed earlier that evening had captured every word of their exchange. The confession, the betrayal, the evidence that would ruin him publicly, legally, irrevocably. By dawn, Andrew was arrested for corporate espionage, fraud, and attempted murder. Isabella disappeared from society pages, her accounts frozen and reputation shattered. Mary returned from the dead in a televised press conference, her resurrection as calculated as her death. The world celebrated her brilliance, her resilience, her uncanny survival story. No one knew the darker truth that she'd orchestrated the entire performance not just for justice, but for satisfaction. In her penthouse overlooking the city she'd built, Mary raised a glass of champagne. Her reflection in the window smiled back serene, unstoppable, untouchable. "I didn't lose everything," she murmured to herself. "I just had to die to own it completely."